Hi, this is Jolie Blue, and you're listening to the Northern Report.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, friends. Welcome to the Northern Report. I'm your host, Sean Burns, and I'm coming right at you from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Here on the Northern Report, I aim to shine a light on emerging and existing Canadian talent, as well as some of the legends we're still lucky to have with us. My guest on today's show is Jolie Blue. From the rural municipality of Eyebrow, Saskatchewan, number 193, Jolie Blue sings combine songs, fire truck songs, tales of hockey players, and antiquated hockey equipment. Most often singing songs about Canada, highlighted and inspired by rural life in the farmland and dusty prairie that encompasses the beautiful province of Saskatchewan. He debuted with an EP in 2018 and went on to release a pair of singles and a full-length offering called Canadian Drifter in 2020. Backed by the Habaneros, Jolie Blue's most recent release, an EP entitled Picante, was released this past May. The songwriter was quoted as saying of the sessions, "We're not here to make a Latin album. We're here to make an album that sounds like a bunch of Western Canadians trying to make a Latin album, and I think we did just that." And I think they did too. I've got his music in heavy rotation on my weekly radio program, Boots and Saddle. I'm a fan, and hopefully by the end of this podcast, you will be too. Friends, I hope you'll enjoy this chat with Jolie Blue.
Hello.
Canadian country music star and part-time wheat farmer. That's who I'm calling for.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking and current fruit salesman.
Yeah, you're in the fruit racket? What's going on?
Oh, yeah, just switching things up between seeding and harvest. And so, just out in the bush now, heading out to pick up another load. Yeah, you got to pay for those albums somehow.
I was going to say, yeah, you're hustling to pay for the music career.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
You
know how it goes. Yeah, it's a money-losing hobby.
Yeah, you're like, it's a non-recoupable investment in your art.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Maybe someday.
And farmers tell me the same thing. Yeah, you got to find some way to supplement it. So, turns out fruit's the answer.
The rural municipality of Eyebrow, Saskatchewan, number 193. Can you please tell us about Eyebrow, Saskatchewan, where it sits in the beautiful province of Saskatchewan, and what it was like for you growing up there?
Okay, Eyebrow, Saskatchewan. Roughly population 120 people, although I should say 119, as I'm not there right now. And no word of a lie, Sean, we sit about 45 minutes south of Elbow, Saskatchewan. And whoever was naming these towns gave us about a lifetime supply of cheesy jokes. I think it was someone on the CP rail. We were one of those towns they were putting a new town every 7 miles while they were building the railroad. And so they just had to come up with new names. And I'm convinced by the time they got to us, they were just bored. Like, they say it was named after a hill that looks like an eyebrow, but show me a hill that doesn't look like an eyebrow.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's a cozy little town, I guess. We still have a school, K-12. About last I heard, there's maybe 40 kids in it, and they keep threatening to shut it down, but we keep fighting to keep it up. And yeah, we've got a general store and a post office. It's one that looks like many others down the Prairie Trail.
You're closer to Moose Jaw than you are Regina?
Yeah, about 45 minutes northwest of Moose Jaw. If you're heading down the Trans-Canada Highway, once you hit about Mortlack, we're a straight shot north down the grid road, about a half hour from there. In the Palliser Plains.
Saskatchewan is beautiful.
Named after John. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a great view. Yeah, you can absolutely see for miles. We've got a hill. Well, like I said, it was named after a hill that looks like an eyebrow. It's 100 feet, and the folks boast around town that it's the third highest elevation in the province.
I cut you off there. You were telling me about what were you saying? Sorry.
Oh, nothing. Yeah, no, just named after John Palliser, who bravely, gallantly explored the plains of Saskatchewan. Yeah. There's a quote somewhere. I can't find it again. I saw it in a museum somewhere, but it said it was when they first walked through this land, they said, no, we should just pack up and leave. Anyone who wants to stay here is out of their mind. You can't live here, you can't survive here, and you'd be crazy to stay. And well, some of us did, I guess.
So what was it like for you as a kid? Were you staying local? You guys are, on the farm, growing your own food. Are you going into town? Are you going to Moose Jaw for stuff, or are you sustainable out there?
No, we're not. It's that's the farming industry these days too. Like, I'm not really a part of it myself. I'll partake in seeding and harvest with my dad and my brother. Like, they're running the whole operation. But it's kind of weird because we consistently grow wheat, lentils, and canola on rotation, like a pulse, a cereal, and oil. But so I've got like access to all the lentils my little heart could handle, and yet we never really even do anything with them. We just sell them and buy our bread from the store. If it was a little more sustainable, I might find a little more appeal in the whole thing.
Right.
But that's the way it goes. Yeah, that's commercial farming these days.
How about music around the house? Radio, records? Your parents listening to songs? Like, what was that like for you?
No, they never really did. In fact, no one really knows where I picked it up. Like, they could hardly give two hoots. Like, my dad's not a grain farmer, but I remember one time I just had to show him Corb Lund's "Cows Around" because it's such a funny song. Even if you're not a cow farmer, you can appreciate what they're going through, and Corb just nailed it in that song. And so I played the whole thing, and I'm watching him, gauging his reaction. And at the very end of it, he says, "So you like country music, huh?"
Like it's a bad
That was
thing.
what he took from it. Like, "Dad, you're missing all the best parts of this song."
So he's not a country music fan.
No, not really. He introduced me to some of the cool oldies. Like, I have to thank him for introducing me to Supertramp. And yeah, things like that. He liked the Police, but he was never really into it. My mom's side of the family is quite into music, but she wasn't overly, but she must have seen value in it because she made me take piano lessons when I was about 8 or 9, and I just hated it, but I thank her for it now because it was the start to understanding the whole thing.
What were you listening to for music, though?
Way back then? Oh, gosh, let's see. When I was just a young feller, well, actually, we had a couple cassettes laying around, and one of the ones that we had that I still have to this day is Garth Brooks, "In Pieces," standing outside the fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah. That one hit home. Actually, not too long ago, I bought a truck with a cassette player. It's a 1991 Mazda B22, and it had a cassette player, and I thought, okay, time to build the cassette collection. And somehow, after all these years, that tape made it stuck with me. And oh yeah, put that back on, and man, I don't know if it's just me and growing up with it, but that's got to be his best album.
He sold such an insane amount of records that even farmers who don't like country music had cassettes of Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
they just showed up on the dash of every truck in the area. Yeah. For sure.
How did you find your way to, the songwriting country music folks? Like, I know you're kind of deep into the Stompin' Tom Appreciation Society. Yeah,
you betcha. So, like, I was like any other teenager. My family got me a electric guitar when I was about 15 or 16, and I learned Crazy Train, and I learned Smoke on the Water, and a whole lot of power chords, and I was the punk rocker like we all were. And then, it must have been in like my early 20s, I discovered the Avett Brothers. You ever listen to them?
I remember when they were like, releasing sort of more steadily. I definitely listened to them.
Yeah, for sure. And there was something really cool I found about them, that they were just always singing of their local towns and just local areas and just getting real specific geographically. And somewhere in there, it must have been Wagon Wheel that did it for me, but somewhere in there I also found Old Crow Medicine Show. And they were doing the same thing too, just singing about their hometown rivers and, stuff like that. And I just thought, man, that is so cool that they are so proud of where they're from. And I just kind of romanticized that to the extent where I went on a road trip down there just to see where all these places that they're singing about. And I was thinking, I wish we had that same kind of pride where we are out in the Midwest Canada. And I didn't even realize that we absolutely did. Like, geez, I don't know when I finally turned on to Stompin' Tom. I think I just bought a greatest hits album or something, and it's like, yeah, this dude is proud of Canada and all of Canada. Like, he was an Eastern boy, but he was singing all about the West, and he loved it all and singing about places I know. And then my best friend Riley showed me Cor Blund and Tim Huss around the same time, and it's like, holy cow, there are loads of people singing proudly of their hometowns and their home regions. And, I just took to that. I don't know. Something about being proud of where you're from and putting it to song that, just warmed my heart. And that's kind of just what I wanted to do.
So, you are like largely telling rural stories, and I guess in a broader sense, the Canadian story. And that's something that remains important to you when you're writing songs. That's how, kind of the road that you want to travel.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've been thinking lately, like, I'm no good at the sappy songs, really. Like if I could, and I tried one, like on that full length that I've got, I threw one sad sappy song on, and as you know, you can see the numbers of how well songs do on Spotify and stuff, and it doesn't even really take that well, but they're so easy to write. It's so easy to write about heartbreak. Like if I was good at it, like you've got a bit of a knack for it, Sean. I was listening to your stuff on the drive today, and you can't sing about sad stuff unless you do it real tastefully. And I guess there's something about my goofy character where it really doesn't transfer over. And I kind of relate to Stompin' Tom in that way. Like he never really wrote too many big old heartbreak songs. You just kind of got to be about something else, I guess. And so, the Canada story, Canada pride. A lot of it is Western Canada now, ranching culture and farming culture, I guess, because that's the Canada I know. Mm-hmm. I'd like to write more about, I don't even really have a fan base set up any further east than you, really. Like Stompin' Tom's maritime songs, those are a good time. Yeah. But, all I really know is the West and farming and what I hear the boys bitch about at the coffee shop here. And like YouTube is good for that too. Like you put on a song like Ode to Viterra or something, and you see how many shares it gets, like how many people relate to it. So basically you just go to the coffee shop, you hear what they're bitching about, and you put it to rhyme, and they all find it relatable enough, I guess. Those are the ones that really work anyway.
So have you always sort of designed your show and your records with this character in mind?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah?
Is who I wish I was all the time.
I like that. Yeah, okay.
So it's like I definitely act like I'm more of a farmer or a cowboy than I actually really am. And then real cowboys. I played a show at Maple Creek where you just know there's cowboys everywhere. And as I was playing, I saw some fellers walk in with some real cowboy hats. And I thought, holy shit, they're actually here. And they invited me to have a beer. And it didn't take long for them to realize I don't actually know shit about. Can I swear?
Yeah, you say whatever you want, man. It's all good.
That's right. It's a podcast.
Yeah,
we're not on the public airways.
Yeah,
so
you can say whatever you want.
A little more freedom here.
Yeah, big time. Big freedom. Yeah.
Yeah. So for sure, and I do definitely play the role of being a farm kid, and down in Eyebrow, I know the least about farming than anybody around. Like I'm the most hippie kid in Eyebrow. For sure.
Casually partaking in the farming.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Dad puts me in the tractor to seed, and if anything breaks down, he's there to save it. And then I'll drive the grain truck at harvest. collect my paycheck, but and then I'm out.
Did you ever leave Eyebrow to live anywhere else?
Here and there, kinda. Yeah, actually, when I first graduated, well, I didn't know what I was going to do when I first graduated high school. When I moved, I took the bold step and moved 45 minutes southeast to Moose Jaw,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was working in at a radio station there. I thought I wanted to be like you, Sean, and be on that side of the airwaves as well.
Oh yeah,
but I couldn't hack it. Yeah, I shouldn't talk so poorly about one particular broadcasting company, but they make you wear suits and ties. You're on the radio.
Yeah.
No one's even seeing you. But
you got to doll up.
Suit and tie. Yeah, suit and tie was mandatory.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then, I took off for a year of school in Abbotsford, and I came home. I got my 1A. I went trucking for a little bit, and from there, just odd jobs. Like I actually do leave a lot. I've owned a house there for about 12 or 13 years, but I'd have to say I'm only there like half the time. I just like getting up and going. And I mean, the money is good at seeding and harvest, but then there's not a lot for Eyebrow to offer in the rest of the time.
You've got no less than two really strong and pretty funny hockey songs. I imagine you're a big hockey fan based on the Cooperall song and the Johnny Boychuk song, because for non-hockey fans, you're singing about a short-lived piece of hockey equipment and a solid defenseman, but not a sexy superstar hockey player name. Can you unpack these for me if you would? I love that Johnny Boychuk song. Fucking love that one. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, okay, we can swear. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. First, Sean, I would absolutely love to thank you for playing my stuff on the air.
My pleasure.
Boast to everyone. It's the only station in all of Canada that plays me regularly, and I just owe you a debt of gratitude to that. You're definitely helping me get my name out in Winnipeg, because that's something I've yet to do, make it that far east yet. But
yeah, you'll have to come out.
No,
here,
I
man.
appreciate that for sure.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah,
my pleasure.
Absolutely. Hey, but yeah, I'll unpack those. So you're with what? Times changed. Hey, are you in good with those guys, or are you like working there or something? I noticed you're doing a lot of stuff with them. You just did a whole collaboration album for them, hey? Yeah,
I co-produced the compilation records, over 30 acts on this album. All of us who work there, and for the longest time, all of us who work there are musicians or married to musicians, and we've since increased the staff. So, but yeah, it's very much like a proper music venue. So I was doing sound there, or we're ticketed shows, so I'm working at the door, sort of maintaining legal capacity and taking cover charge. It's just a very like musician cash side hustle, and we're open outside this summer. And we're still operating the show 7 nights a week. So I'm down there like 4 or 5 days a week working the door, and then we're playing there, a couple times this month and once last month. So yeah, there's a really, really strong community, and it's this great little family down there.
Yeah, well, it looks beautiful. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
for years, that's kind of just been like the pinnacle venue in Winnipeg. If I could ever make it there, I was trying back when I was like not as successful at getting shows. I was messaging them a couple of times, and Spider Bishop said, "Oh, it's hard to get in there."
Yeah.
Even Tim Huss has trouble getting in there, but that's almost kind of like Western Canada's Horseshoe Tavern.
It really is.
Toronto. Yeah, it's got that name and that reputation behind it, and just looks like a great venue.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about these Cooperalls.
Yeah, if you still want to hear about all that.
I do. Yeah, man.
Okay, yeah, well, let's see. Which one first? The Cooperall song is one of those ones. It's like, I was at a Corb show once, and it was the Ian Tyson tribute down at the Badlands Amphitheater in Drumheller. Mm-hmm. And Ian couldn't make it, so he was just telling Ian Tyson stories, and he was about to play Truck Got Stuck. And he says, that Ian told him, this is your stupidest song that you have. And Corb replied with, "I know, but it's also one of my most popular." And that's kind of, and in the shadow of him, that's kind of how I feel about the Cooperall one. Like it was one of those ones that you're right in a half an hour. You've had a couple of Pilsner beers at night, and you forgive yourself for silly lyrics, and you wake up in the morning and think, well, this is dumb, but I better show it to somebody. But no, yeah, everything that happened in the song is pretty much true. Like I was digging through my grandpa's storage, and I found a nice pair of blue and white Cooperalls, the ones that are in the video, and I thought, someone's got to write a song about these, or I got to write a song about these.
Yeah.
And in a very Stompin' Tom-esque manner, like, I can't believe no one's written a song about these yet. And so I actually sat on it for like 5 years. I had a line here. Well, I wrote one out that wasn't as good as it is now, but the one lyric that I kept is where my pants are my socks and my socks are my pants. And then, I don't know, you know how it goes as a songwriter. Like, just one day, 5 years later, just something clicked in my head. I grabbed the pen, and the whole thing was written in half an hour. Like, I was on my way. I was already doing the scratch tracks for the Canadian Drifter album, and they were already recorded. And then I wrote the Cooperall song, and I thought, holy shit, well, we better throw this on there too. So I raced back to the studio and did that one too. And yeah, it's nice that it worked out so well. Just sometimes it's just those goofy, simple ones.
I think that's the one where I first heard of you, and then I'm like, this guy's got a song about Cooperall. Like, I don't know. If you're not a hockey fan, it's I don't know. You're right though, and totally in that Stompin' Tom style. It's like, how has this not been done?
Well, they were so quirky.
And Johnny Boychuk.
Yeah, Johnny Boychuk. The weird thing about how that one came to me, well, I guess the backstory is, so I'm about 45 minutes out of Moose Jaw. And Johnny Boychuk was a Moose Jaw Warrior for a couple of years. And we had season tickets in those days, and I just loved the way he played. Like, he was just one of my favorite guys of all time. And then I happened to be a Boston Bruins fan, and he eventually found his way to Boston, played for them, won a cup with them, and that's just the style of hockey I like. But the weirdest thing, or the weird thing of how it all came to be, is I was tree planting like 2 years ago, and there was a feller there that looked exactly like Johnny Boychuk. He was a little skinnier. He was a little more hippie, as tree planters are, and he was, but he had the eyes. Johnny Boychuk's got those piercing blue eyes. And so I actually went like as long as I could that season without meeting that guy or even talking to that guy. So, like, for as long as I didn't know him, he could be Johnny Boychuk in my mind. And then you're out there planting trees, and of course that's the most mindless job on earth. So I just kept thinking about Boychuk and how someone out here looks like him. And that one just kind of came to be like, Boychuk rhymes with puck. Like, that's almost too easy. And yeah, that's pretty much how that one came to be. Yeah, just a tribute. Like, he had an average career, I would say, and it got cut short early because of that eye injury, unfortunately. But yeah, no, he'd always been one of my favorites. Big, hard, open ice hits.
Oh yeah, he's right. Old school, steady D man. Won a Stanley Cup. He had a good career.
Yeah, he had a real good career. It was a damn shame that it ended up getting cut a little short. But yeah, no, I was a fan of his for sure. Yeah. I
wonder if he's heard the song.
He has. Yeah, I whore myself out, Sean, pretty good. Like, I'm my own publicist. So just like I'll revert back to the Cooperall song. Like, that one's my most successful YouTube song. But that was because I emailed it to, like, everyone under the sun. And the guys at Bar Down were like, oh, this is good. Let's play this. And then they shared it. And so that took off. And so with Johnny Boychuk's song, I creeped Instagram. I found his brother. I found him too, but he's private account.
You're right.
And but his brother's a big fan of Johnny, and so I just sent it to him in a direct message, and he replied. He said, "Oh, this is great. I'm going to show it to him right away." And so, yeah, so he shared it. That helped quite a bit. And from what I've heard, Johnny has heard it. It was funny, though. I wanted to release like a 2-song EP and just try and get them in the arenas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right behind the hockey song, and which is a huge influence on those kinds of song ideas. Just like something that gets played in the arenas. I really was shooting for that. And so we took that one to the studio as well. And I had a release date set up. Of course, COVID hit, and all of a sudden the arenas were empty, and so there wasn't really anything I could do at the time. And then I had my release date ready for it. And then, boom, Johnny Boychuk announces an early retirement. And I was like, well, shit. No, they're not going to play it. But, they still might. But, so I just released it quickly, like in honor of his retirement. I threw it out online, but
you've always seemed very active and very smart with the videos and the social media. I guess you sort of always realized how important that kind of thing has become these days. Do you have any kind of background with this stuff, or are you just throwing it against the wall?
A little bit of background. We got a technical institute here in Saskatchewan. It was called SciAst. It's called Sask Polytech now, but way back in my early 20s when I was trying to figure out what to do with my life, I took a year of something called New Media Communications, which is basically graphic design and just the importance of the internet taking over. And so I was just definitely aware that that's the route you got to go now. In fact, when I first opened for Tim Huss, we were having beers before the show, and I was telling him, like, you're like the last guy on earth who has a successful music career without even having an online presence. And that's kind of special that someone can even still do that, but I wouldn't stand a chance. Like, it helps us so much, hey?
Oh,
you as well. You've got quite an online presence.
It takes up so much damn time, like doing the podcast, doing the radio show, and then like trying to pump your own tires for your own music and stuff. It's a lot, and sometimes I don't know what works, man. Sometimes something gets a little bit more traction than the other thing, and but I'm really fascinated by the whole thing. It is very interesting to me, like how these things get built up, and when you're supposed to do whatever, what time of the day, or I don't know. Sometimes it's nauseating, but it is important, and some people got it figured out. And I think if you're in a position where you're making a lot of money, you can sort of, farm that out to someone else,
Yeah, that's right. Well, we would be so lucky, but I Googled those as well, the proper times and the proper days to post something in best hopes that it makes it somewhere. But at the same time, like, you look on the internet and you see the dumbest shit that goes viral. Like, it doesn't take much, man. Like, I could shoot a video of a cat doing something outrageous and get 10 million views if I was so lucky. So that was kind of my optimistic mentality with the whole video thing. Like, if I just keep pumping out silly videos, one of them's bound to take off eventually.
Hey there again, folks. As we approach the halfway point of today's episode, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Northern Report podcast. I'm your host, Sean Burns, and our guest today is Jolie Blue. I'll remind you to follow along with the Northern Report podcast and our playlist on Spotify. Subscribe on Apple or Google Podcasts. You can listen on YouTube, our Anchor.fm home base, or wherever you find your podcasts. I sure was happy to connect with Jolie Blue here for the Northern Report and find out more about how this fella ticks. His optimism is refreshing, as is his work ethic and seemingly clear vision for how he presents his music and content, and how he gets it in front of new eyes and ears. I'm specifically speaking to the video output. I suggest you go peep the Jolie Blue YouTube channel. You'll find him singing his songs in the fields, on the combines, in front of grain elevators or the local fire hall, in a church, in the mountains, or on the ice. Some clever videos, many of them racking up an impressive amount of views. And that's without even mentioning the Mexican marionettes that appear in the videos for a couple of the songs from the Picante EP. Jolie Blue has deep roots in his region, but he's been traveling to Calgary to make his records with some veterans of that vibrant roots music scene. We'll talk a little more about that, about his songwriting, and a myriad of other related topics as we continue to get to know Jolie Blue a little bit better. Next. Yeah, the videos are great. The latest ones, like the one you did at Vern's, is really awesome.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, that was a good time. Oh, we made do with what we had. Yeah. I don't know if, that was a fun time. Yeah. Clint, he's the man. Hey.
Oh man, he is. That's a wild little place. I haven't drank in a number of years now, but one of my last like real ugly, but really fun times was with Spider at Vern's.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It already sounds good.
Yeah, it was great. It's like there's no rules there after a certain hour, but I've played there before too, and I dig it. And I know that Spider is like, that's his spot. He loves it there. Yeah, for sure. How did you hook up with him?
Spider or Clint?
Spider.
Spider. Yeah, I got to open for Tim Huss. Maybe it might have been in 2019. October 2019 or 18, I can't remember anymore. But so yeah, going way back, I was covering Stompin' Tom Connor's songs, putting them on Facebook, and then sharing them in a Stompin' Tom fan page. And then some feller adds me as a friend once he's seen it, and we sat dormant for a year. And then about a year later, I was looking for a tour. I was looking for shows, and I whore myself out, as you know, just like. Not even hiding it. Like, if anyone has a show I could play, I'll take anything. And this feller messages me, and he says, he's from Watson, Saskatchewan. His name's Jim Hausaker. Odds are he's going to listen to it. He's a good fan and an even better friend. But he messaged me, and he says, I've put on shows for Mike Plume, J.J. Voss, and he says, and Tim Huss. And we could probably get you something out here if you're interested. And I replied, like, and it was true, as that it is a lifelong goal of mine to someday open for Tim Huss. And he says, well, how's about next month? I said, holy shit, reached that goal a little quicker than usual. Yeah. So we went out to Watson, we played a show, and as you know, and some of the listeners may know, Spider's a long-time bassist for Tim Huss, and he had Tom Moon there, drummer from Ian Tyson through the 80s and 90s. And so, I opened for them, and Spider really took a liking to it. I don't know what it was. Right after the show, he comes up to me and says, keep playing, keep going. And then he snagged my number from someone, and we've been friends ever since. And both of them offered, Tom Moon and Spider both offered. I told them I was hoping to make an album soon, and they said, well, we'll play. Yeah, let us know. And so a friendship blossomed definitely there. Or maybe it's like a mentor-apprentice type thing with Spider. He really is keen on helping me find my footing in this industry. And like, he's been around for decades, of course. He's made a career out of it. So I don't know how I got so lucky to get all his help, but he hooked me up with the studio. He offered to play, he lets me stay at his place when I go to Calgary, and just, couldn't be more grateful. He set up the whole Burns thing. He introduced me to Clint, and damned if he isn't one of the most helpful people. He introduced me to you, actually, as well. He's doing all my dirty work. I can't explain it. I drove through Calgary this afternoon, and I had half a mind just to pull in at Spiders, and I thought maybe I should get him on this interview too, because he's got much more interesting stories than me.
He's great, and he's been very encouraging of me over the years, and I knew for sure, like, it was no surprise to me that he took a shine to you, and he did a very similar thing when Tim Huss was starting out too. Like, found someone that was eager and had good songs, and I think he kind of did the same thing with Tim. Like, I'll play with you, and So yeah, man, he's great. He's a super intelligent guy, and he's got tons of experience. Like, I don't know, man. He always has these little like just golden one-liners, you know, of a life and gig experience.
Yeah, that's right. Some things that are absolutely totally new and foreign to me, he just knows matter of fact. Like, he'll just tell you how it is. Because he's been around the block. He's seen it all.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, he told me about that. He told me about meeting Tim. I think he was at one of Tim's shows. And he went up to him after the show. He said, "You're good, but your bass player isn't no good." And he gave him his number and said, "When you want a better bass player, call me."
Wow.
And that was how yeah, because he was already experienced by then.
Oh yeah. He's been around a long time, man. And Huss, like back to the, you know, pre social media days, like they would go so hard, just the two of them for years. I'm sure he's told you all this shit before, but like Tim played everywhere, anywhere anyone would have him, and built up a fan base, you know, particularly in Western Canada, and to the point where you're right, he doesn't need to lean on that. And maybe that's the last generation of guys that don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, pretty much is. Yeah, it was neat because I was asking him about it. Like, I'm too young to know what it would be like trying to do this without social media. I said, how'd you even get shows? He said they would find phone books in places far away. Somehow they get their hands on phone books for like northern Alberta. They just go to the bar section, call all of them, and then mail them the posters ahead of time. It's like, man, it sounded like a whole lot of extra work just to get a show.
Oh, it's probably tons of work.
It's one quick email now.
Yeah, you're right. Did you record all of those albums and the singles out there in Calgary?
The last two I did, yeah. The first one was, that one was to get my foot in the door. That was in Saskatoon. So my great uncle Daryl Beckert, he plays percussion for the Saskatoon Symphony Orchestra, and I'd heard for years that he's got a recording studio in his garage, and so that was kind of just one done with friends. It was 4 songs just to try and get just to have something, you know. When you're playing shows, you just want something, and then that worked real nice because then at every show you had something to pass along, and then I met Spider and Tom and so the last 2, and probably the next few, unless they get sick of me, I don't know if they're sick of me yet, because I've got kind of I feel like, you know, people get addicted to getting tattoos, and all of a sudden they're all covered, and it's all expensive and stuff, but they just can't stop. That's kind of how I'm starting to feel like albums. Like, that's one of my happiest places to be, is just in the studio, just making shit with those boys. So yeah, we did the last 2 there, and yeah, Derek Pulley, I'll refer to him probably for the rest of this one, but he's got a Dog in the Window Studios out in Calgary, and he's in good with all the Calgary folks, so that's kind of neat, because I'll just come record the scratch tracks. I'll come back in a month, and it'll just be like, hey, I got Tyler Allen and Pete Cormier and Sid Zadravec playing on your record, and I'm like, holy cow. You know, I was just fans of those guys, and you know them, and now they're on here. That's pretty sweet. So, yeah, it's good to have such a strong connection in Calgary.
And that's how you do it, eh? You just go out there on your own, and you lay down scratch tracks, and then when you come back, it's, you know, you're singing over top of the full band.
Yeah, pretty much. Like this last one, Picante, the Mexican one. Like, I didn't even know he was going to get Sydney Zadravec, but I was a huge fan of hers. Like, when I would go out there, me and Spider would take in shows on our nights off and stuff, and he introduced me to those Zadravec sisters. And I thought, yeah, they've got such beautiful voices. And then one day, he made it a surprise because he knew I was a fan, but he was like, check this out. And then there's Sydney Zadravec singing backups on half the songs. That was pretty cool.
So I know you were down, I guess you were down in Mexico there for a while in the winter?
Yeah, I did about a month this winter. Yeah, I've gone, a lot of years, not all years, but I'm turning into a bit of a premature snowbird. Like, I love rec hockey and snowmobiling and all that fun stuff, but the lack of sun eventually gets to me, and I've been fucking right off to the south a lot. So, especially this year with COVID, they took our beer league away, and as you know, there was no shows to be played, and I said, well, guess I'm going back there. And I came back a little early. It was right when the government was threatening those mandatory hotel stays, I thought, I better make her back home then, so I don't have to pay $3,000 to stay in a hotel. And then I had that 2-week quarantine just to my house all alone. And before I even got there, I thought, how the hell am I going to keep myself occupied for 14 days? So like, it ended up not being too bad. But the first night there, back to the tattoo addiction thing. First night home, I phoned Pulley in Calgary, and I said, can you book me in some time? I want to do an album. And I didn't even know what I was going to do. I just thought, I guess I'll just make an album in these 14 days. So that's kind of how that one came to be.
Whoa, is that when you wrote the songs?
Most of them, yeah.
Oh, holy shit. 'Cause I figured, I don't know, for some reason I thought you wrote them when you were down there, but I guess you come home and you got nothing to do, so you busted out all these tunes.
Yeah, that was kind of the neat thing about the quarantine, is that like I was able to stay in that Mexican mentality because I wasn't getting right back to farmer talk with the boys or anything because I couldn't see anybody. But a couple of them are real old, like that opener, Smoking a Camel. That one was years ago. That one dates back to the first time I ever went down there, like in 2014, and was just happy to be there, And then a lot of them, like more or less the rest of them were written in that 2 weeks there. And that was kind of a neat experience too, or experiment, I should say. Like on the Canadian Drifter, that's 12 songs, and they were all tried, tested, and true in front of a live audience. Like I picked the best that I had to offer, and then this Picante one, none of them had been played live. I really didn't. It was kind of just like a weird little experiment, like, fuck, sitting here bored in quarantine anyway, might as well do something. But yeah, I really didn't know how they were gonna do, because they've never been played for an audience or anything like that.
Where do they come from? Like, how do you write songs?
Oh man, well, as you may probably know, there's really no rhyme or reason to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I did with the puppets, I'm just publicizing myself. If anyone's listening, you're going to want to get on YouTube and check out the video I did with Mexican marionettes, which are spiders, by the way.
Yep.
That's just a testament to how useful he is at all times. We were sitting in the studio, and he says, you should make a music video to this with Mexican puppets, and I have the puppets. And I'm like, all right. So that one there, was a Spanish Fly, with the great trumpet and everything. That was kind of like the Cooperalls. Like somewhere in the middle of my 14-day quarantine, I had drank a few too many beers and was quite hammered. And I just started writing the dumbest song I could think of. And I woke up in the morning and thought, that's dumb. And I let it go until I got drunk enough again to keep on working on it. And that was a totally inebriated written song. And then, the rest of them, well, I threw on a Dr. Hook cover. It seems I'm a fan of Dr. Hook because I parodied them in the first one and I just covered them in the second one. But yeah, the rest were just kind of talking about experiences that happened down there. Like, I don't know if the travelers know it, but when you're always down there, you're always just doing a little bit of soul searching. It's not always just drinking beer and hanging out. So yeah, there was some shit to work through. And when you're just sitting alone at home for 14 days, as a songwriter, there's no better way to work through that shit and just put it to music. So yeah, they're all tales of trips in the past down south anyway.
Where in Mexico were you?
That time I was in it was in the Oaxaca state. It was down in Playa Zipolite, which happens to be Mexico's biggest nude beach, but that was not intentional, Sean, I promise you.
But
the fact of the matter was, the WestJet had a one-way ticket, or like a red eye or a direct flight deal going down there, and when it was time to go, it was time to go. So, and I didn't care where, and I ended up just picking the cheapest flight I could. Of course, that's always going to be Cancun, but I've seen Cancun. I'm not a fan, and so the second cheapest flight was to Zipolite. I thought, well, I haven't been there yet, so that was it. On the Pacific side, about 3/4 of the way down the coast.
Beautiful. Were you playing any music when you were down there? Did you get to play for people at all, or?
A little bit. Yeah, this last time around, well, it was kind of fun. Like the first night I got there, I was talking to the hotel owner of where I was staying, and I said, things are so much more what normal used to be over here. And he says, yeah, there's no COVID down here because nobody gives a fuck. And as the month went on, I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, there was one little bar there run by a Canadian woman. It was a great little place. Once a week, she'd have a jam night, and another one, there was an open mic night. So I was kind of, I was just there for a month, and I brought my shittiest guitar. But the jam nights were fun. Like, people come from all over. And, of course, I had my lousiest guitar, so it couldn't plug in. So I wasn't really much used to just jam with the band, but everybody got one song, so I went up there and I did Tell It To Me by Old Crow Medicine Show. And, it felt great. Like, the bar was packed shoulder to shoulder, not a mask in sight. And it was pretty sweet, but, you kind of, there are some musicians down there trying to make a go of it, and it's definitely possible in those tourist spots, but it's a lot more possible if you bring some gear down. And I didn't bring a PA or even my nice guitar or anything, so I more or less was just hitting up jam nights and stuff. But yeah, there have been times in the past, like Belize, I ended up playing a lot of shows in years past.
Right on.
That was kind of where I got comfortable with figuring out the bar scene. Like, I don't know, they see you come down with a guitar and they're just so hard up for entertainment down there. And like, it was 2000, it was right before I did my first EP there. But yeah, it's pretty much like you could play every night if you wanted to for a meal and a bottle of rum. By the end, I was getting a place to sleep. And by the very end, I was finally getting paid gigs, which is harder to come by because there's not so much money down there. But I've kind of got a second Jolie Blue down there who is doing not too bad himself. But you got to change it up, a lot more reggae.
Are you going to make a habit of like continuing to go down there in the winter times and trying to play music?
I'd like to, kind of more or less. It's fun down there. It's loose, chill, Caribbean vibes. Yeah, but I don't know. I kind of take each year at a time. Like, every time I leave, I do sorely miss the rec hockey and the shows up here and everything. But yeah, I definitely plan to return.
What position are you playing in the rec hockey team?
Oh, geez. Well, I've been smoking a lot more cigarettes lately, so I had to jump back to defense.
I'm smoking too much to play the wing.
Yeah, that's right. Defense is so much easier. Like, when you're a forward, there's a D-man trying to take the puck away from you, and you got to deal with that. But if you're a D-man, man, your one job to do is just to get the puck away from him, and I find a lot more ease in that. Plus, you just hang out on the blue line and have a good time. Yeah, kind of all over. We definitely don't take it too serious, so I have bounced around. Like, whoever was on forward for the first period is probably going to want to switch back to D to catch their breath for the second.
The boys don't ever drop the mitts?
No. Well, have you ever heard of Caronport, Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got Briarcrest Bible College, and that kind of runs the whole town. Super religious town, and so that's where we're called the Highway 42 Combines, but that's where we play.
Yeah.
And they're pretty strict on no fighting. You fight once, you get a year ban. So actually, yeah, I call it beer league, but they would shun us pretty hard if they actually ever caught us drinking beer.
I bet.
But,
yeah.
So yeah, no mitt dropping out there.
So I mean, you're about 5 hours or so from Calgary. Have you ever thought about just moving there?
Kinda, but the whole eyebrow thing is a good part of the shtick.
Right.
Live in this ridiculously named town that's super small, and I found ways to make money out there. Like, if there was ever a big city to move to, it would probably be Calgary, because it was kind of nice just to get an in with everybody, like, all thanks to Spider, of course. But that would probably be the place to make a go of it. But I also don't really do well with competition. Like, once you enter the big city, you know more about this than me, because I kind of tried to make a go of it in Saskatoon for a while, and they couldn't give two shits about you until you're somebody. And when you're down in Old Eyebrow, you're already somebody without even having to try. So that big fish in a small pond has kind of worked well for me. Like, the small towns are where it's received the best, I should say. Like, I've done a couple tours now to the island and back, and I don't really stay away from the cities, but at the same time, I'm not really getting any gigs in the cities anyway, because the competition's so high. And then say you roll into somewhere like Irvine, Alberta, they're just like, hell yeah, we'll take a show. And then everyone in Irvine's like, there's a show? Holy shit. And, the whole town is there because there's not too many shows rolling through. And that's kind of worked best for me.
You're just on the fruit hustle here all summer? Are you going to play some shows, or what's that look like for you right now?
Yeah, I've got a couple lined up. It's weird, yeah, because, well, when I first started this whole fruit thing, I couldn't get a festival anyway. I was trying for every single one, and I don't know, they wanted somebody a little more substantial, and so I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to write off the summers and sell fruit instead. And but now that COVID's done, more or less, we're in Alberta right now, we don't have to wear masks into stores anymore.
You're right, yeah.
It's neat. Yeah, it was liberating.
Yeah, I bet.
It was cool. But so the phone calls have been coming in. Like, there's a town about a half hour away from Eyebrow called Riverhurst. They've got a Riverhurst Bean Festival every year. And so I'll hop off the fruit truck for that and go play that. And then there's some birthday parties. And I'm trying to keep everything close to home right now, which, it's unfortunate that the music's got to take a back seat right now. But damn, Sean, the money's just too good.
Well, and it's not cheap, making records and then printing copies of them and everything that goes in with that. And so, it's cool that you've got all these little side hustles that are, non-civilian jobs that you get to travel still and meet people and do something different.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I really do like it. It's fun. Getting into fruit is kind of a fun, weird little fruity thing. Like, I named my company Jolie Blueberries.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw that.
I did, yeah.
A friend gave me that idea, and I thought, yeah, that's funny. It ended up being a huge mistake because everybody thinks I'm a blueberry stand, and I barely ever have blueberries. But the crossover, the people who know the country music, too, they get the joke. But, yeah, it works. Like, if I got it right off of summer, which is kind of too bad because there's a lot of festivals and everybody wants to have a good time, but the idea would be if I could just start booking tours in the falls and winters and stuff, maybe get a little bit of a rhythm going. But yeah, like, everybody's got their system. Like, I know Tyler Allen out in Calgary, he's working at a guitar shop. A lot of guys work at guitar shops. It's a fun thing, and it seems music stores often understand a musician's need to get a night off because they got a gig and stuff. But I am pretty much a write-off until about October with this thing, but no complaints. It's fun.
What are you listening to in the truck for tunes?
I'm glad you asked. There's so many long trips. A lot of it has been podcasts, and I like Spittin' Chicklets. I like those guys, but of course, just Honky-Tonk.
I love when they have like the players from like when I was a kid, or like or the minor league guys that are just like grinded a whole long career and played like 12 games in the NHL. But the stories are so great.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. The fun thing is, if they're already retired, they can let loose a little more and tell you some things that the current players can't.
Yeah.
And anyone who's ever went and played in Russia has usually got some pretty wild stories.
Oh man, those
there.
KHL stories are fucking crazy.
Yeah. But we get digging so hard. Like, these are such long trips, and you're just sick of everything you've been hearing already. So I'll be perfectly honest with you. We've been listening to a lot of Weird Al Yankovic lately.
What brought that on?
That guy will get you through a road trip.
Yeah. Weird Al and Spittin' Chicklets.
Yeah, Weird Al and Spittin' Chicklets. That about sums it up. Yeah, the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota has got to be like I'm going to add it to my repertoire as soon as I can sit down and learn the thing. But man, yeah, that dude's funny.
Do you find time to do any writing during these trips and during this time working away from music?
Yeah, kind of as you go along. Yeah, a little bit. Like you pop an idea into your head. The important thing is to write it down as soon as it pops into your head. Otherwise, you're going to forget it. But there is some downtime. Like I'm just sitting there in a lawn chair selling fruit. So, yeah, the ideas come in and, you see things, you do things, and just, when you can't be out playing shows, at least I'm out doing shit and finding inspiration for stuff. But currently working on like a next collaboration or a collection. Like I didn't know what to think of this latest one. Like the Canadian Drifter one, it was all Western Canada. It was all agriculture and all that. And then I just threw a fucking curveball. Like, here's one about Mexico. I don't even know who it's for. The Mexicans aren't going to like it. My regular fan base isn't going to like it. But it was just something I had to do. And then, but the next one, the idea is to get back into the whole Western Canadian culture thing. So, there's enough farmers stopping in at the fruit stand telling me their woes or their high times and stuff that, the ideas have been popping in for sure.
Where can folks go to, directly support you and your music and order from you?
Well, you just stop by the old fruit stand on Highway 42 on the western side of Eyebrow, Saskatchewan. We'll be selling records, T-shirts, and CDs and all that fun stuff. But, I don't really have too much of I don't really have an online store. Of course, I'm on wherever you can get your online music and shit, and I'm on YouTube and all that stuff. But I'm not even really big enough. Like if somebody wanted some vinyl or a CD, just shoot me a message on Facebook, basically.
The CanadianDrifter.ca is the website.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot to plug that. I haven't updated it in a while. But all the shit's on there, yeah, for sure.
It's all on there.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, for sure. And I've played most of the new EP on Boots and Saddle and gave you a little acknowledgement and write-up in the August edition of the Honky-Tonk Times for Picante. And I want to thank you for taking time here to chat with me and being on the podcast. And all the best, man, with the fruit racket. And in the fall, keep in touch, man. It would be great to do some shows with you at some point.
Oh, for sure, Sean. Yeah, it would be great to connect. And, man, thanks for all the publicity, man. If you're the one guy just, pumping my shit consistently, and it gives me tingles up my spine every time.
Right on, man. Well, thanks for taking the time, and I hope to talk to you soon again.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Sean. I hope it was everything you'd hoped for.
And more.
Right on,
Have a good one, buddy.
Cool, man. Yeah, you too. Take care.
Take care. Well, friends, I hope that you've enjoyed my chat with Jolie Blue, and I'll thank him once again for taking the time to tell us his story. Listen to Jolie Blue's albums wherever you're streaming music for a nominal monthly fee, or check him out at thecanadiandrifter.ca. Follow along with the Northern Report Spotify playlist to hear music from the folks that I've covered in the Honky-Tonk Times column, as well as right here on the podcast. Remember to subscribe, like, follow, share, leave us a rating. I really do appreciate it. Our logo was created by Boots Graham of Boots and the Hoots, Central Alberta's finest honky-tonkers. And music on the show today is courtesy of Sean Burns and Lost Country, The Divorcees, and Skinny Dick. From local legends to regional stars to the cream of the Canadian crop, you'll find it all here on the Northern Report. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll chat later.
Hey.
Hey, pal, tell me something.
One more beer and that should do it.